Welcome to NarrativeNook where enchanted stories come to life. If you enjoy our stories, please subscribe, like and share to support our channel. Enjoy listening.
Why would she slap her instead? She could tell Mrs. Collins had put all her might into that slap. Serena's cheek was visibly reddened and swollen. It seemed Louisa wasn't done yet, as she delivered a second resounding slap to Serena's face. The sound echoed crisply in the air, startling even those two servants who were cleaning the garden nearby. What on earth was going on? They had thought Mr. and Mrs. Collins had come out to bring Miss Serena back in. That slap was too much for Serena to handle. She collapsed onto the snow-covered ground, bewildered as to why her mother would hit her. Louisa, trembling with anger, threw a thick envelope at Serena's face. It took Serena a moment to gather herself and pick it up, only to find it was a lawyer's letter from Ms. Kiki. The letter itself was only 2 pages long, but attached were more than a dozen pages of printouts. They were screenshots of Serena's online rants against a singer named Summer, including her spiteful exchanges with Summer's fans. That concert was so noisy, how could anyone sing so flawlessly? It had to be pre-recorded. The voice you all heard was processed. I know Summer personally, and her real voice is nothing special. She wouldn't dare sing live in public, she just lip-syncs. I know Summer, she's a distant relative of mine. Not only is her singing mediocre, but under that mask, her face is quite unpleasant. Only her eyes are passable. Overall, she's nothing compared to me. And her lyrics and compositions aren't even her own. She's got a whole team behind her, don't ask me how I know. And it wasn't just these. Her online spats with Summer's fans were also meticulously captured. Summer really can't sing and isn't that pretty, and she's got no talent. Can't we even speak the truth anymore? I really do know her. She's a freshman in college right now. If you don't believe me, go dig it up yourselves. Jealous of her? A joke. She's hideous. You're all brain dead. Shake your heads, do you hear the ocean? Brain dead, every one of you, supporting trash like Summer. Yeah right, she's trash, and I said it. What are you going to do about it? You're nothing but barking dogs. Come on, keep barking. I've had my rabies shots, I'm not afraid of you. If you've got nothing better to do, come be my doorman. I'm afraid my status might just scare you to death. Serena hadn't finished reading, but she knew the gist of what she'd posted. She clutched at Louisa's trousers, trying to explain, but Louisa stepped back, uttered in an incredulous tone, "You dare to speak of your sister like that? On the surface, you pretend to be remorseful, but behind our backs, you're still up to no good." Mom? Serena looked up, her face a picture of shock. Summer is my sister? I truly had no idea, nobody told me. I've been locked up next door, feeling terrible, and then I saw Summer's singing video. She sounded so beautiful that at first I only questioned it. When Summer's fans wouldn't let it go, I just snapped back at them. I didn't know she is my sister, really, you have to believe me. Tears rolled down Serena's cheeks as she sobbed, her face the very image of innocence and distress. You didn't know Summer is your sister? You explicitly told others online you knew her, that she was a college freshman. Louisa's voice was filled with frustration. You called her trash, a monster, and you slandered the lyrics and songs she made, saying they weren't hers. You've truly disappointed me. It's horrifying. Hearing her mother addressed it was horrifying, Serena's tears cascaded down her cheeks. I was just blabbering. I had no idea Bella is Summer. People say whatever they want online. I was just spouting nonsense. Mom, you have to believe me. You might not trust me on anything else, but on this, I really am innocent. Louisa watched her sobbing and was utterly unmoved, her voice icy as she said, "Wait until Bella gets back, you apologize to her in front of the whole family, then you can pack your bags and leave." Serena gazed blankly at Louisa, her mother who used to cherish her and now was ready to cast her out. Not just cast her out, but demand an apology to Arabella before leaving, and in front of the whole family? The whole family? Including Grandma and Grandpa, her aunt and uncle? Was she trying to strip her of her dignity completely? Mom, you're throwing me out? You don't want me anymore. Serena's voice quivered as if bleeding. You once said, no matter what happens, I'll always be your princess. You said even if my sister came back to this home, you'd treat us equally. You promised to watch me walk down the aisle in a wedding dress. And now you have the nerve to say these things to me? Louisa snapped, you've brought this all on yourself. They cherished her as their own, but she never appreciated it and always hurt their daughter behind their backs. Caught a couple of times, she'd only pretend to be weak, innocent, falsely apologizing. Weren't you just too frail to pick up that branch over there, collapsing on the ground? How come now you've got the energy to argue? Louisa's tone was laced with scorn. Startled, Serena saw her mother turn to leave and desperately lunged to cling to her feet, nearly causing her to stumble. Had Kenneth not been there to catch her in time, Louisa would have taken a nasty fall. Mom, please don't send me away. I really didn't know Bella is Summer. Serena's tears flowed like river. Nobody at home told me, and I swear to God, I really didn't know. You can't force the blame on me for something I didn't do. Let go. Louisa refused to listen to her explanations. Mom. Serena sobbed uncontrollably, don't throw me out. Where am I supposed to go? This is my home, you and Dad, you'll always be the closest people to me in this world. You still won't tell the truth? Louisa was utterly disappointed, her heart chilled to the core. If Serena had just come clean, as a mother, she wouldn't feel as disappointed as she did now. I said let go. I won't let ahem. Perhaps the cold had gotten to her. Serena shivered violently, but still clung tightly to Louisa's feet. She cried out pitifully, Mom, you'll always be my mom. You can hit me, scold me, punish me however you like, just don't send me away. What are you waiting for? Pull her off. Louisa's cold gaze fell on Betty. Betty hurriedly pulled Serena away. Miss Serena, holding on to Mrs. Collins like that is making her uncomfortable. If you have something to say it properly later. Let me go, let go. Serena couldn't believe this fool was holding her back at a time like this, not even trying to plead on her behalf, just pulling at her. Louisa turned and walked away, her figure resolute and detached. Serena, you've truly broken both of our hearts. You're such a disappointment. Kenneth dropped these words and followed Louisa into the main house. With the door closing mercilessly behind them, Serena crawled forward a few steps. Dad, Mom. In the living room, Eric watched Serena's crying her heart out was utterly useless. Scrambling up, he began, Mr. and Mrs. Collins. You'd better not plead her case, or you're out the door with her. Louisa snapped, her temper flaring. I actually thought she was sorry this time. She's been playing us for fools, putting on an act, pretending to apologize. Then behind our backs, she's spewing vile insults like trash, freak, and slut. What happened to the manners we've spent 18 years instilling in her? Kenneth, too, felt a chill of disappointment. I never thought she'd become such a stranger to us. He followed Louisa upstairs. I don't think she's going to change. Once she apologizes to Bella, we'll have her move out. There's no keeping her here, Louisa agreed, having seen through Serena's facade after these recent events. The girl wasn't going to change. Serena felt as if the entire world had abandoned her. She knelt in the snow, her body numbed by the cold until she lost all feeling. She simply couldn't believe her parents actually meant to kick her out. 18 years of pampering flashed before her eyes, as vivid as yesterday's memories. Although Eric had warned her that after the New Year's festivities, her parents might ask her to leave the Collins family, but when she heard it from them and felt the sting of their slaps, it was all too different. She was discarded. Cast aside by the very parents who once doted on her the most. All those promises to cherish her as their own, to treat her fairly, they were all lies. Her tears flowed unchecked, her body shivering uncontrollably in the freezing cold. Eric, witnessing this from inside, felt a pang of distress. Serena had no idea how long she knelt in the snow until she collapsed, consciousness slipping away. Eric, frantic, approached Louisa. Mrs. Collins, Miss Serena's been in the snow for 3 hours. She's passed out from exhaustion. Louisa had been about to sit down for dinner, but Eric's words did nothing to soften her heart. She continued towards the dining area unfazed. Mr. Collins, can't you give Miss Serena another chance? Eric turned to Kenneth, who usually had a softer touch. But this time, Kenneth offered no response. He simply followed Louisa to the dining table and pulled out a chair for her. At that moment, Betty emerged from the kitchen with a tray of food intended for Serena. Upon seeing this, Louisa said icily, "From this moment on, there's no need to send her meals." Betty hesitated, asking instinctively, "But what will Serena eat? Doesn't she have hands? Can't she cook for herself?" Louisa took her seat and then continued callously, "Until Bella returns, nobody is to concern themselves with her." Betty and Eric exchanged a look of resignation. They set down the tray and retreated, heads bowed. As Louisa gazed at the spread before her, memories of doting on Serena came flooding back. The girl's innocent, beaming smile and the venomous words she'd uttered in secret. "Forget about her." Kenneth picked up his utensils and served her some food. "We've been more than generous with her. We have a clear conscience." "I wonder if Bella's arrived yet." Louisa thought of Bella traveling abroad alone. She took out her phone and sent her a message. Arabella stepped off the plane, immediately feeling her mother's warm concern through a text message. After sending a quick reply, she looked up and saw her right-hand man Horace, waiting to pick her up. "Boss." Horace couldn't help but notice something different about Arabella the moment he laid eyes on her. It wasn't just her change in fashion. Her usual icy aura had thawed, replaced by a lively sparkle in her eyes and an air of refined grace. She was breathtaking. Horace, who rarely got the chance to be in her presence, couldn't suppress his goofy, innocent smile. He had always envied Jack and Jones for sticking close to the boss, facing danger by her side, while he was often dispatched elsewhere. He learned things related to the boss from other buddies of his, and had only recently heard the gossip about her love life. Once in the car, Horace reported the situation. "Boss, we still haven't secured Elle's Island. There's this guy, Sean. Without his say-so, we can't make a move." Elle's Island boasted a unique climate and pristine environment, perfect for cultivating delicate herbs, including some rare varieties that were crucial for Arabella's research. Take hairy vein agrimony, for instance. Previously, Arabella needed a concoction of over a dozen herbs to replicate 80% of its effects. But on Elle's Island, hairy vein agrimony was abundant, mistaken for a common weed due to its unassuming appearance. Arabella had hoped to acquire the island at a modest price, letting its natural herbs flourish while introducing other sensitive plants for her research. "What's Sean's deal?" Arabella inquired with detached curiosity. Horace had no clue, only know he's a big shot here. Everyone speaks of him with reverence. He's a mystery rarely seen, and Elle's Island is in his grip. His men have jerked us around. We've been outplayed at every turn and haven't secured the deal. The island was a treasure trove of botanical potential for Arabella, both for the inherent value of the herbs and the research opportunities they presented. "Negotiate again, and be prepared to raise the offer." "Understood." As Horace drove, he glanced at the rearview mirror before adding, "Oh, and boss, the seller agreed to part with the medicine you want, but insists you pick it up personally." "Time and place." "Tonight, 11 o'clock, at the Demon Ring, room 11. Arabella nodded. "I'll go alone tonight. You don't need to be involved." "Boss, let me come with you." Horace's protective instincts kicked in. If there was a chance to stand by her, he wouldn't miss it for the world. After a bit of persistent coaxing, Arabella relented. "Fine, but you follow my lead." "No problem." Horace dropped her off at the hotel, insisting on carrying her backpack to the door of the presidential suite. Only after seeing her safely inside did he leave with a silly, satisfied grin. "I'll pick you up later, boss." "Okay." Meanwhile, the dimly lit basement reeked of blood. A man hung suspended, his body battered and lacerated. His captors, breathless from exertion, had yet to extract any useful information. "Mr. Collins, he's still not talking," one of the underlings confessed, out of options. They had tried both beating and threats to no avail. A man with a dangerously charming demeanor lounged in a chair, his lips curling into a merciless smile. He peered through the bars at the wounded man, idly playing with a snake in his hands, and said indifferently, "Then there's no longer necessary for him to live." The green python hissed, its tongue flickering as it glared menacingly at the injured captive. A rare mutation, impossible to mass-produce, One had to gamble on numerous snake eggs and raise them to maturity before knowing if they had this particular variant. Due to the rarity and high cost of nurturing, such a python could fetch around $300,000. Sean had a whole bunch of this breed of snakes, treated them like pets, and played with them. Little guy seems pretty stoked. Sean reached toward the barrier. The snake quickly wrapped itself around the railing from his hand, flicking its tongue as if ready to nip at the man any second. Steward flipped a switch, and a horde of snakes slithered out from beneath the wall, hissing menacingly as they eyed the man dangling above them. "Let's get some use out of him before his curtain call," Sean said with nonchalance, as if a human life was no more significant than an insect's. The man's feet were barely off the ground. Just biting him to death would be too kind. Steward felt like they were letting the man off easy. Sean flashed a grin. "Let these little critters have their fun first, then we'll toss him to the mountain." The man heard the hissing and Sean's words. His scalp tingled with dread. Since ancient times, humans have had an innate fear of snakes, with their cold skin and naturally venomous nature. The snakes moved forward in a wave-like pattern, hissing loudly as they aimed for the man's ankles. The man, terrified, quickly drew his feet up. The snakes flicked their tongues and tried to approach him again. Sean stood up, ready to leave. "Felix told me to find him in the demon ring after I've done the job." "Ah." The man's plea was cut short as a snake bit him fiercely, making him scream in agony. He didn't know if the breed was venomous, only that if he didn't speak up, he wouldn't have a chance to live. He had thought that Sean, wanting answers from him, would at least spare his life, just long enough for someone to come to his rescue. But Sean was as ruthless and brutal as the rumors said, not only releasing these snakes but also intending to throw him to the mountain. Rumors had it that Sean kept hundreds of large, fierce, and temperamental dogs there. Sean exuded an aura of arrogance and detachment. He walked away, seemingly uninterested in listening anymore. The man, enduring the excruciating pain, shouted, "Only I can meet Felix. He's very cautious. You won't catch him with the slightest rustle of grass. Spare my life, and I can lure him out." He was bitten a few more times by the snakes, his expression twisted in agony. Sean simply left the basement. Steward initiated the system on the wall, raising and lowering the rope as if toying with the man. The man screamed in terror. "What else?" "The fire years ago, I swear I didn't know. I just did whatever he told me." The man was completely petrified with fear. Finally, Steward switched off the system, using sound waves and bait to lure the snakes back. The rope lowered, and the man crashed to the ground, his expression contorted in pain. The door opened and Steward stepped in, pressing a foot onto the man's wound, saying coldly, "On Sean's turf, don't even think about playing tricks." "I wouldn't dare." The man gasped for air, pain choking his words. "I'll definitely lure him out for you." At 10:30 p.m., Arabella climbed into Horace's car. The demon ring was covertly built, hidden in the husk of an abandoned train station. Its entrance was masqueraded by an inconspicuous billboard. Horace flashed a QR code at the bouncer, a blonde guy with blue eyes who ushered them through the security checkpoint. No weapons were to pass this point. They were funneled down a dimly lit corridor, flanked by guards with guns at the ready. At the end of the passage, a door opened to the main arena, where there was dripping with a hubbub of voices. In the center of the circular spectator stands, a giant birdcage-like ring hosted a spectacle, a heavyweight fighter locked in a showdown with a ferocious beast. "Take it down! Take it down!" The crowd was relentless in their bloodlust. The beast, clearly hungry and with the advantage of sheer mass, lunged at the fighter, its claws carving deep red gashes across his arm. The roar it emitted was primal, signaling a predator's resolve to claim its prey. The audience was in a frenzy, craving the raw, visceral thrill of bloodshed, which was the reason why they came. Arabella knew of the existence of these underground fight clubs, but the savagery before her eyes was beyond anything she had imagined. To satisfy the spectators' morbid appetites, a brutal man versus beast battle was being staged. Staircases and guarded elevators provided access to the seating areas. The elevators led to the private rooms above, reserved for the elites. Horace presented the QR code once more, but this time, the attendant allowed only Arabella to proceed. "Wait for me here." Horace was visibly concerned, but trusting Arabella's assertive glance, he nodded, his worry easing just slightly. As Arabella ascended to the second floor, the elevator dinged open to a stark contrast of ambience. Compared with the tempestuous from below, here was far more quiet. Even though one could still hear roars downstairs, the deafening sounds abated. Stepping out, Arabella was greeted by an unexpected sight. A woman shed her plush pink coat, revealing nothing but a bikini underneath, and cooed Sean. Her back to Arabella, the woman showcased her graceful curves and long legs. She sauntered towards a man in the corridor with seductive steps, barely waiting for a response before draping herself around his neck, provocatively rubbing her ample breast against him. "Quite proactive, aren't you?" The man had a voice that dripped with charm. In the dim light, Arabella couldn't distinguish his face, only hearing him teasingly inquired, "You want to do it?" "Oh, stop." The woman purred, "Sean, you're making me blush." Arabella had no interest in their identities. Spotting a sign for the higher-numbered rooms to the right, she realized she'd have to pass this intimate scene. "Excuse me," the pair will block her path, the man's bodyguards looming behind him. The woman didn't think she was so opposite to be tactful. Wasn't it obvious she was in the middle of charming Sean? Was this woman blind to demand passage from Sean? But Sean simply tightened his grip around the woman's waist, pulling her closer while casting an intrigued gaze at Arabella as she walked by. The girl's features hidden behind a black face mask that only allowed her clear, beautiful eyes to stand out. Her hair was scooped up into a playful bun, and she was dressed in casual attire, a backpack slung over her shoulder, and a pair of crisp white sneakers on her feet. "Sean." Perhaps sensing Sean's gaze lingering on the girl, the woman next to him cooed teasingly, leaning in to press her lips against his. Steward, with his entourage in tow, hadn't intended to step aside for Arabella, but seeing Sean make room, he motioned for his group to part ways. Arabella brushed past them and rapped on the door of room 11 before slipping inside. The woman, eyes closed, moved to seal her kiss with Sean, but in the next instant, she found herself unceremoniously dumped atop a trash can near the elevator. Being thrown away out of the blue, the woman looked confused and in pain, her expression twisted as she realized she was bleeding from a scrape on her elbow. Raising her eyes, she saw Sean toying with a white pill, a cold smirk playing on his lips. Feeling for her hair, the woman discovered the white pill, which had somehow ended up in Sean's possession. "Trying to drug me?" Sean flicked the pill back at her. "When did you catch on?" She was shocked by his acuity. Had he noticed when that girl walked by? It seemed impossible, she had been so careful. Could he have detected the scent? Steward wasted no time, his men securing the woman firmly. "Did Troy send you?" A derisive smile on Sean's face as she remained silent. "Guessed that quickly, huh? How dull." He issued a lazy order to his henchmen, "Chop off her hands, send them with the pill to that old geezer." Troy, a business rival, envied Sean's growing power and the way his own empire was being devoured by Sean's ambition. "You think I'd suffer at your hands?" The woman attempted to lick her thumbnail, coated in a layer of golden powder, a contingency against failure and capture, but Steward intercepted, stuffing a handkerchief into her mouth before she could act. She had planned to end her own life swiftly with the poison, but her plan had been thwarted. "That old fool, not only is he incompetent, but his lackeys are just as pathetic." Sean shrugged off his suit jacket, soiled by the woman's touch, and tossed it into the trash. He accepted a moist towelette from one of his men and wiped his hands clean. Once Sean entered room 1, Steward knocked the woman out cold and took her away to carry out the grim task. Some time later, Steward returned to report, "Mr. Collins, it's been handled, and the woman sent. Also, there's a mysterious buyer keen on purchasing one of your islands, offering up to $30 million. "Which island?" Sean seemed to have forgotten. "The one we call Weeds Island." Steward struggled to find the words to describe it. In his mind, the island was overrun with weeds, desolate, save for a sprawling sandy beach and a clear view of the ocean. The buyer probably wants a private island, a secluded life away from the world, but in Steward's opinion, the island was hardly worth $30 million. Sean had acquired it for a mere $2 million back in the day. "Mr. Collins, we'd make a good profit at that price. Keep him on the hook." Sean had no intention of selling just yet. He swirled the drink in his glass and downed it in one gulp, What about the guy? The one from this afternoon? His name's Sam. He's already downstairs luring Felix out. Word is Felix loves a good brawl. If it's brutal enough on the stage, he'll show. In the private room 11, Arabella had sealed the deal, cash exchanged for goods with practiced ease. She slipped the medicine into her backpack and rode the elevator down to the lobby. Horace, spotting her, broke into a relieved grin. He'd been worried about the boss's safety going upstairs alone. But there she was, walking out of the room 11 without a scratch. Got it? Horace mouthed, his face a picture of excitement. The place was a racket, but Arabella caught his drift, nodding and tilting her chin up, signaling it was time to jet. In the massive birdcage arena, the heavyweight boxer, a brute over 200 pounds, had been mauled by the beast, chunks of his arm flesh hanging loose. Now he was being carted away, while the victor was rewarded with a feast of raw meat, retreating obediently back into its cage. Next up was a lopsided match, a muscle-bound fighter tipping the scales at more than 300 pounds versus a kid who looked barely strong enough to lift a feather. The kid, no more than 5 or 6, was forced into oversized boxing gloves and shoved into the cage, his wails piercing the din, reaching Arabella's ears. She glanced over to see him clutching the bars, desperate to escape, as the crowd went wild. These people are sick. A twinge of sympathy in Horace's voice as he glanced at the child. Completely twisted. Do you want to see a little one's fight or flight kick in when he's pushed to the edge? The host was a foreigner whose words bore the meaning after translation. The crowd roared back, "We do." Place your bets, folks. Will it be our fighter or the kid? Countdown starts now. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. At the whistle's blast, the fighter picked up the kid like a rag doll and slammed him to the ground. The crowd erupted, high on adrenaline. The kid lay there, crying pitifully, calling for his mommy, too hurt to stand. Do you want to see more? Let's see who wants to up the stakes. Who has the highest bet? The giant screen flashed with the bet stats, 1,351 bets placed, the highest being 13 grand. The host was clearly not satisfied. Any higher bets? The thrilling moment will begin. Are you ready for it? We are. Show me the money. The host's words had barely left his mouth when the screen flashed a new bet. 1 million, from private room 1. A hush fell for a split second, then the place erupted. It's Sean. Sean's in with 1 million. The host's voice was tinged with glee. Arabella narrowed her eyes in disdain. Sean? The jerk who was all over some woman upstairs, trying to get lucky? No surprise he was trash. Let's hear your cheers as the next act unfolds. The host was drowned out by the escalating roar of the crowd as the fighter advanced on the kid. Horace turned, only to find Arabella had vanished. The fighter lifted the child high, parading him around the arena like a trophy, the audience's cheers shaking the very walls. As the child was hurled away, the fighter was ready to bask in the wild cheers from the crowd, but a hush fell over the audience instead. A girl, who seemed to have slipped into the cage unnoticed, caught the child in a protective embrace. Outside the cage, the mother, her face streaked with tears, clung to the bars, pleading desperately. Are you from Solterra? Please, save my kid. His dad is drowning in debt. He didn't choose to be up there. I'm begging you, please. Shut up. Her pleas were abruptly cut off as someone gagged her and pinned her arms behind her back. The fighter didn't know who this girl was, and the host seemed just as clueless. Arabella confronted the fighter, her tone dripping with contempt. Picking on a kid? Aren't you ashamed? As Arabella started to leave with the child, the fighter punched the iron cage door, prompting the host to snap out of it and announce, "This is a special surprise we arranged for the show, folks. Feel free to place your bets." A staff member quickly locked the cage door. The desperate mother outside struggled and wept as the teen girl, frail and slight, now faced the prospect of dying in the cage with her child. Horace finally squeezed through the crowd to the cage, and when he saw his boss locked in with the intent to save the child, he sprang into action, starting with rescuing the mother. The fighter, oblivious to the girl's background, knew only that winning tonight's match would net him a cool 100 grand. He was determined to win at all costs. Arabella didn't have boxing gloves or any protective gear, and she was still holding a child. As the fighter lunged with a punch, she swiftly sidekicked, sending the 300-pound behemoth staggering back. The audience erupted in shock and excitement, never expecting such strength and skill from the girl. Realizing Arabella was no amateur, the fighter cracked a grin, relishing the thought of a worthy opponent. He swung at her again. The crying child in her arms was terrified by the punch, but Arabella reassured him, "Don't be scared." As the fighter's fist came hurtling towards her, Arabella dodged with lightning speed and launched a counterattack. Her foot connected with the fighter's head, and his midsection and waist didn't escape unscathed. With a stylish spinning kick, she forced him back once more. The roar of the crowd swelled. The mother's eyes widened in disbelief as the slender girl seemed to dominate the heavyweight fighter. The fact that she was managing this feat while holding a child, using almost exclusively her legs, seemed like a twist of fate. It was as though hope had been restored, and she wept with joy. Horace quickly dealt with the underlings and found the key to unlock the cage. Arabella tossed the child and backpack to him in succession. "Go." "Boss, what about you?" Horace was clearly worried. "I'll handle this." With the child no longer in her arms, Arabella's fists flew into action, her movements even more agile than before as the fighter's fist plunged over. "Boss, this joint is owned by Zebulon." Horace's words were lost in the din. Arabella didn't hear him and delivered a strong kick to the fighter. "Boss, this place belongs to Zebulon." "Zebulon, let's get out of here." Horace pushed open the cage door, but the fighter, seeing him, punched the iron door again. There was no way he would let this girl escape. Winning against her still meant a prize. "Go," Arabella commanded, glancing back. Dozens of staff members, armed and determined, pushed through the crowd towards them, clearly not intending to let the disruptor along with the mother and child leave without a fight. Horace had no choice but to sling the bag over his shoulder, carry the child, and take the mother's hand, leading them away first. The crowd roared with excitement as Horace squeezed his way to the edge and glanced back. The fighter was down, and he knew the boss had roughed it out in that cruel region before, able to handle these backstreet brawlers with ease. "Boss, I swear I'll come back for you." Horace led them away first. Arabella, now free from worries, floored the fighter and swiftly locked the cage door behind her as she made her exit. A gunshot suddenly echoed through the arena. A lot of audience realized till then danger had descended and scrambled to the sides. Zebulon, flanked by a slew of henchmen, had Arabella cornered. "You think you can wreck my joint?" Arabella, facing the armed crowd, her eyes turning icy, retorted, "What, I need to write you a permission slip? You're in over your head." With a wave of Zebulon's hand, his goons opened fire. Arabella quickly subdued one of them, using the man as a human shield and seizing his weapon to return fire. In the VIP room, Steward reported with guilt, "Mr. Collins, Sam slipped away in the chaos, and I lost sight of Felix too. It's that girl's fault." As he spoke, his gaze fell to the lone girl below. Her movements were lightning fast, and Zebulon's dozens of men couldn't lay a finger on her. Felix loved the thrill of the fight, so Sean had deliberately jacked up the price to a cool $1 million to lure him out. And sure enough, when Sam reported his arrival, that girl had dashed to rescue the kid in the cage, and her crew had managed to snatch the kid's mother too. Perhaps sensing danger, he had vanished in the chaos, and Sam had fled also. Damn her. Why play hero? Why stir up trouble? Couldn't she just stay home, hit the books? Once Felix showed, and they snagged him, they would have surely sent someone for the kid. They weren't heartless. It was just a matter of moments. Why did that girl have to meddle? Steward had been on this lead for ages, and to think it would be botched today, and by a meddling schoolgirl, no less. Sean eyed the agile girl on the ground floor, her aura defiant and cold. Catch her, throw her to the mountain. In the arena, Zebulon, seeing his men strewn about in pain, only a few left circling Arabella, stepped back fearfully. "Who the hell are you?" The girl wore a black mask, her face unseen, but her youthful clear eyes suggested she was just a teenager. So young, yet with such skill and bravery, she had not only taken down a 300-pound muscle-bound fighter but also left his men groveling on the ground. At that moment, Steward arrived with reinforcements. Zebulun, seeing them, as if spotting his salvation, "It's this girl. She's ruined Sean's fun. Steward, get her." "Sean?" Arabella's gaze lifted towards the VIP room. Silhouetted against the massive floor-to-ceiling window, a lean figure stood watching the melee below. "This one's for Sean to handle."
For listening. If you have enjoyed this story, please like and share so others can see it too. Also hit the subscription button and notification bell so you can be notified on our next release. Thank you for your support. God bless you.